Yeah. So hello everyone. Good morning and good evening. So last class we were discussing about um, React with conditional and list rendering. It means how to conditionally display some data. Okay. So we want to display some data depending on conditions we have discussed, and we also discuss how to loop an array and how to display in a tabular format we have discussed. Okay, and don't worry, this conditional list will come in future classes also. Okay, so we use regularly those examples, so don't worry. And so today I just come up with a new concept. The concept today is component interaction. So what is component interaction is how the React.js components can communicate each other. How can they interact each other? So how to give a or how to share a data between various other components is components interaction. So till now we have developed the components all are independent. Okay. So for example, if I take the diagram, see here. Generally, how you develop an application in React.js is component-based development. It means you have multiple components like you have this navbar components. Okay, so you have navbar component, you have sidebar components, and you'll be having a footer component. Like multiple components will be there. Okay, but generally, um, if you want to develop a perfect application, so all these components should be in connection. Okay, so they need to share data between them. Okay, so till now we have developed the independent components, and let's see how they can share data between them is here. And this is the this look and feel of the website, but generally internally how the website looks like is if you take a one minute, if I take a structural diagram of components, it will be like this. You will be having the root components for whole application, that is app components. Okay, you'll be having a root level component that's called app component. So we're gonna create every component inside of this app component. Okay, so the architectural diagram for multiple components will be like this. You'll be having here component A, and here you have component B, and here you have C, and you have D, and this is E, like that. So you have multiple components. Let's take this is A components, and this is B components, and this is C component, and this is D, and this is E. And all these components are in connection with each other, like this. Like this. Okay. So now I have what's my plan is I have some data at my app component, and I need to pass on this data to each of these component. So how can you provide this data to the next component? Okay, so this interaction we'll see. So here we're gonna understand how to send data from parent component to the child component, and also child component to the parent component. So how is possible? Parent to child and child to parent. So both the things are possible using the concept called props. So we have already discussed the props. Okay, so props is the way to send some data from the parent to the child. But we have not discussed how to send data from child to the parent, because that time we have not discussed the um, data binding and all. Okay, so now this is the perfect place to understand this concept. Okay, so by this time we have finished some of the examples, so this is the perfect place to understand this example. So how to transfer data from parent to child and child to the parent, and how the both can be interacted. Let's see. Okay, so I have taken the uh, previous example, and I remove the components folder, and I remove the the import statements and this configuration, and I just make it empty and I kept bootstrap as it is. And yeah.
Hello, sir.
Huh,
This is Paresh here, sir. Sir,
yeah,
is
tell me.
there any case when we needed to pass the data from child to child?
Child to child. Child to child. What's child to child?
Means if
This
we
is, see, if you want to send, let's take this one. If we want to send from A to B, this will become parent, this will become child. Okay. If you want to send from B to A, that is child to parent. So child to child is a sense.
means that's what A. If we want to interact with A and B, that's what.
Yeah,
In that,
then if you want to interact, A will become the parent and B will become the child.
okay,
Okay. Yeah, I'll show you how you configure them. I'll show you. So
okay, sir.
generally structure looks like this, but how your configuration will be is app component will be one tag. What's the tag? App tag. Okay. And here, so in that app component, we will be configuring this component. A will configure. In the component A, we will be configuring component B like this. And in the component B, we'll be configuring components, component C like this. Yeah, I tell you how this communicates. Yeah, so I have taken the existing structure and I have started the server. It is here, and I don't want this heading. Our heading is different now. React with component interaction. Okay, component interaction. Okay, let's take a basic example and then we'll see the real example. Okay, so basic example is parent and child. Okay, so first of all, I create two components. One is parent, one is child. So I go to SRC. I create new directory, something called components. Okay, inside I create new JavaScript. So um, parent component, name is parent component only. So let me write import React from React and class parent components. So extends React dot components. Okay, inside con tab and then ren tab. So h1 I'll write parent. Okay, so let's say export default parent component. Fine. I have parent components and same like this I want child components. So what I do, let me copy this one because same structure, copy and paste, and I change this to child. Okay, and now change the name child components, and this is child, and this is child component. Okay, so you have uh, two different components. One is parent and child. So I gonna configure them here. So suppose if I write parent component here and then child component here. If you configure like this, what happen? That app is also one component, right? So now app is become the parent. These two are the direct childrens of app. So if I configure like this, the directory structure of this will be in this format. Let's take a new one. Let's take new one. Yeah. So you will be having one. This is the app, and in the app, I have configured parent and child. So this both are at the same level. So here is the parent, here is the child. So this both are in connection with app. Okay, I don't want like this. I want parent to be the parent and child to be the child of this parent. It means the child I want to be inside of parent. Suppose I wanted like this. This is you taken as the parent Okay, in that I wanted one component as a child. So here I wanted the child. So if you want to make this type of setup like this, you need this child to be configured, inside the parent like this. So now this is the parent and this is the child. Okay, so now this relationship has come for us. Now parent is there. In the parent, I have configured the child. So now our concept is how to transfer the data from parent to child components and also reverse. So child to parent. Let's see. So first we start with this one, parent to child. How is possible is simple props concept. Okay, now see. For example, parent, I'll just take some data like this dot stage is equal to an object. Okay, in this message will be something called I am message. I am from parent. So I have some message in the parent component messages I am from parent. Okay, now if you display that data, suppose I write some paragraph tag, I want to read the data in the parent. How to read? Simply you say this dot state dot message. If you read that in the parent, you will get the message I am from parent. But if you want to see the differentiation here, because I can't really differentiate here because it seems like same component the data is coming. We can do one thing. We can take one card body. Okay, now let's make here. So p dot h3 or h4. Yeah, here I am from parent component. Let me give some margin 3. Okay, see now. Yeah, this is the parent component's card. So I have some data. This data, if you want to read inside the parent, okay, same component. If you want to read, I just write the pre tag. Simply what you say, this dot state dot message. If you read like this, because the message is there in my own component, I can read like this from the stage, and I got the data. But what my plan is, I don't want this data in this component. I want to send this data to the child. Okay, so how you can send this data to the child is using props. How is, let's say, message is equal to this dot state dot message. Okay, so what I'm doing is message is the property of child components and its value will be coming from my the parent. Okay, so how to read this message in the child? Any property how you read here? We have discussed in the starting initial classes. How to read property here is this dot props dot message. Okay, let me go to the child once. Okay, let's make here also one nice card. One card body. Let's me make some margin 3. Okay, so here I will write p dot h4 child component. Let's check. Yeah, child component. So in the child component, I want to read it. How you read is this message available in the form of props in here. So this props contain the data. Okay, so how you read that is I write some p dot h3. Okay, so from parent. So what is coming from the parent is it will store with the props. So this dot props dot message. See, I don't have any message here. The message is coming from this dot props. So this dot props is the sense the props which is sending from the parent. So this message. I am reading that here. So now you check from parent. I got the message. I am from parent. So what is the data is there in the parent? You can read like this. So very simple. This is straightforward. Any data if you want to send from parent to child, you can provide as a property directly like this, and that property can be read in the child using this dot props dot message. Suppose you are passing message, you are reading message. Suppose you are passing something called data, so you need to read this data, so you get the message. Fine, this is straightforward. Fine, but now I want something reverse. What is reverse is, I have some data in the child, but I want to pass on the data to the parent. I want to lift up the state information from child to the parent. So how is possible? That is also possible with props with a different approach. So let's see. So now child having some data. So this dot stage is equal to some data. Here I have, okay, let's take this is back to message. Okay, and here also back to message. Okay, no change. Yeah. In the child, I have some data. What data you have? I have some data, something called good morning. Good morning from child. Okay. So I have some data called good morning from child. Now what is my plan is, this particular data I want to push to the parent component so that my parent component can display in this here. So how this possible? Okay, so how to send this data to the parent is, first thing is, the first point is, you have to create a function. You have to create a function in parent to receive the data. Just observe. I'll explain the flow again. If you want to send data from child to parent, first in the parent, you need to create a function to receive the data. Okay, and then once it is done, you can send data from child to parent. Okay, so first you need to create a function to receive the data. Okay, what I do, receive means I create a function, public, not public, um, pull data is equal to one function. Okay, so you need to provide some data here. Okay, so that I will catch it and I will store into my local state. So for example, data something is there is empty. Okay, so I whatever you are providing, child will send data through this function, assume. So whatever child is providing the data, that I am adding to my own data. So how is, how to set that stage? This dot set stage inside um, local data, but here also data. Okay, so some text you are sending. Okay, or you say send data, here is text. Okay, now I say text will be the data. What the data is coming through the function parameter. I'm adding to the text, but I want to see, I want to visualize that text information. So in the parent, what I do, I make another p. Okay, so from child, what is that? This dot state dot text. Simple. In the state, I have a text variable. Okay, and that text I'm displaying here, because when the child will call this function, that is going to provide some data that I'm adding to the this variable only. So I'm just for time being, the text I'm showing here. So if you any data is assigned here, that will display here. Okay, so we are ready with the function to receive the data attached to the state, and we also ready to display the data on the screen. Okay, but only thing is this text is empty, that's why it is nothing has display. Okay, so now from child, we need to call this one. Okay, so when, So sir, when I want to send data, I'll do one thing. I just make a simple button in the child. So whenever I click on the button, then I'll send the data to the parent. Okay, so when I click on a button, then I send data to the parent. Okay, so how? In the child, I create a simple button with the class call btn minus success and btn minus sm small button. Let's say send. Okay, so I have a send button. When I click on the send, I want to send the child specific data to the parent. So when I click on, so click on means what? On click is equal to, so click button, it's this keyword. Okay, my own function. Let me copy this. Let me create that function here. Okay, so here when I click on the button, I make a simple alert. Button is clicked. Okay, now check. When I click on the button, I got the alert. Okay, button is done. Now, when I click on the button, what's my plan now? When I click on the button, then this data, the good morning from child. So when I click on this button, this data sent to the parent. But parent, how it will receive the data using this function. But how this function is available for me? If you see previous example, the child component has been configured inside the parent, so you can directly provide the property. It happily accepts here. Okay, but in the child, there is no parent tag configured. If the parent tag is configured, I have sent through property directly. Correct. But that parent specific no information is available for us. Okay. In parent, we have a function. But if I can call this function from here so that I can send data to the function. But how this particular function is available for my child? That is also possible through props. It means this function also you provide to the child through props. So child is there here. Here I'm going to provide another property to receive the data from the child is prop again. What I say is push data is equal to pull data. Okay, it is something, annoying. See, push data is a property name. Okay, so you can access this using this dot props dot push date. Okay, so value will be pull data. So now what I'm doing, I'm making this function. I am making this function is available to the child using this prop. Okay, when I call this prop, it nothing but this one. Okay, so I can get this available to this property. So in the child, what I do, what's the property name? Push data. So in the child, what I say, this dot props dot push data. Okay, and what is its value? This dot pull data. What is pull data? Is a function. So I can simply call this like this, and I can provide this dot state dot data. Okay, so I can have access to the pull data using this property, and that property is a function. I can just call with something because that is expecting a data. So I have provided my data to that one. Again, props it is. Okay, so if you do this, what happen? This data will send to push data. What is push data is pull. What is pull is takes the data that will assign to the stator, and that's what I'm displaying on the parent component here. Now check in the child, what is data? Good morning from child. So whenever I click on this button, see, data has been displayed in the parent from child. This one, what is from child? What is from child is text. So now text has been assigned with my data. Okay, so that's a process. Simple. Okay, I tell you one more time. Um, Yeah,
Can
someone
I
having
do
question.
it, sir, can I do it without send button?
Yeah, we can. We can.
Question, please.
Huh.
Can you give us a real life example where we can use this feature?
Yes, yes, definitely. I show you.
Okay,
I
thank
show
you.
you. Yeah. Okay. So now, um, okay. So to send data from parent to child is direct props you can provide. From child, you want to provide some data. So you need to make some function is available to the child using props. And you need to call that function and provide the data, and that will be available to the parent. So if you talk about the real example, it will be something like this. You have the root component and all the child components, right? So this root component having some data. What type of data? Something like your theme specific information, your theme. Okay, so theme name, theme colors. Okay, so that information, or else the login credentials, the person who logged in, that data here. Okay, so this data I want to display here. I mean, this is like employee employee page. Okay, in that employee list. Okay, in that employee details. Okay, now in the app I have login credentials, but that logged in person information I wanted to display in the employee detail. Okay, so how can you provide this particular data is here. Generally in React.js application, in any Angular or React, if you're displaying some data in one component, for example, this is navbar. If you're displaying some data in the navbar, it doesn't mean that the data is only coming from the navbar. Okay, if you're displaying some data in this particular main area, it doesn't mean that the data has been generated only in that area. Okay, it may be the chance of data is coming from the parent app level, and that is dispatched to either navbar or sidebar or here or here. For example, one person has logged in. Okay, so that login information is there in the root level app, but I want to display that login information somewhere in the footer, somewhere in the bottom here. I want to display that logged in person information here. Okay, or date and all. This data assume this coming from the app. So how to that is not generate in the footer. So what you do, that data I want to send it to this guy. So you must have to pass through. Okay, and sometimes what happen, child components also will be there, some cards. So they will do some sort of calculations, and that calculated result I want to display somewhere here. So here I have one card, you have one form or something, some calculation. When I click on calculate, I want to display the calculated results somewhere in the next level of the components here. So in that case, you must have to pass on this data back to the parent, so that parent will catch it and display. So so data can be generated in some component level, and that can also be displayed in any component level. Okay, so it must pause data between each component of any level. Okay, so that's the plan. I just make one more example so that you makes a clear understanding. Okay, right. Before that, um, inheritance concept. Uh, it's kind of inheritance in component level. Okay, so let's take one interesting example so that you will get some more clarity on this. Okay, so what my plan is, I need to make this type of setup. Okay, so okay, I tell you, I need new. Okay, I need one parent, I need one child. Okay, so this is your parent elements, and this is your child elements. Okay, now in the parent, I want to create one text box. I want to create a text box. Okay, now what my plan is, in the text box of the parent, I'm going to type something. Okay, so what we have discussed, as soon as you type, I will display the data in the same component. That's what we discussed, two-way data binding. But what my plan is, as soon as I'm typing, I don't want to display the data in the parent, I want to display when I'm typing in the parent, but I want to display that data in the child. As soon as I'm typing, I want to display that data in the child, and also do reverse. It means child also will have one text box. Child also have one text box. Let's change the color. Yeah, child also have a text box. In the child, I'm gonna type something. Okay, so that something I want to display as soon as I'm typing, I want to display that in the parent. Okay, so here you really understand the flow between the parent and child. Okay, and then we'll see the realistic example also after this one. Okay, so let's make this example with two text boxes to share data between parent and child. Okay, so for this I'll do one thing. um okay, in the components you have parent and child, we have already taken. So can we take some other names? Okay, let's take parent card, child card. Okay, so I create new JavaScript parent card. Okay, so let's take import React from React, and the class parent card extends React dot components. Okay, so con tab and REN tab. Okay, let's say h2 parent card. Okay, and yeah, let's say export default parent card. Just be with me, you will understand. Parent card. Now same like this, I want a child card. Child card. So parent card, child card, but name we have to change. Child, and this is child. Okay. So now let me comment out this guy. Let me add only the parent card. Okay. Now, yeah, let's check parent card. Let me design nice card here. So go to parent card. I want this to be the React dot fragments. Inside, I need one card with some margin 3 m3. Okay, and what you do is card body. Okay, let's also take the card header. Card header. Okay, so in the card header, let me write bg success and text to white, just for visual visibility purpose. And here I take p.h4 parent. Okay, this is parent. Okay, in the parents card body, I have one form. In this, I have one text box, the class form group input type text, the class form control. Okay, some placeholder, some parent message. Okay, so you have some text box in the parent. So inside I want to create a child as well. Okay, so child, how you do? Let me copy the same thing. Go to child. Let's make it. I think, yeah, I have to take React dot fragments and paste it. Okay, I just changed this bg danger. This will be the child, and child also will have text box. Okay, and let me configure the child in the parent. After form, let me write child card like this. So parent inside we have a child card nested. Now check. So parent box and the child box. Okay. Now here, beside the parent, I will receive the data from the child. Beside the child, I receive data from the parent. So first of all, whatever I'm typing, I want to display that information in the parent, because I want to just make two-way data binding between this text box and my parent box. So how is this possible is, I can take one stage. Let's make two-way data binding and then we'll send to the child. How? So this dot state is equal to an object. I'm taking message of type just empty. Okay. Now how to make this available here? So let's make value. Value will be this dot state dot this dot state dot message, and on change is equal to this dot update input. Okay, so you're gonna attach here. Okay, you get the events. So this dot set state, and what I'm doing, message with events dot target dot value. Okay, so I have a message and printing here. Okay, I want to visualize the state data also. So what I do is, in the, okay, somewhere in the card heading, so P, let's say, okay, P tag expression, I write this dot state dot message. Okay, so let's make a message from parent. Okay, this is something empty. Now see, this is the parent. This text box also in the parents. Now whatever I'm typing, that is displaying in the parent itself. Okay, because I have configured that both in the parent only. I got in the parent. Fine. But now what's my plan is, I don't want to display that data in the parent, but I want to display that data in the child. So as soon as I'm typing, I want to display that data in the child. So it means this is binded to the message property of the parent, but that I want to send to the child. It means your message I want to send to the child. So how to send, delete this, how to send as a property, message is equal to this dot state dot message. You have provided through property like this. And how to read this property in the child is, go to child, and somewhere you want to display, I can make in the child card after form, let's write a p tag, let's say from parent. What is the data coming from parent is, expression this dot props, because you're providing a prop, right? So props dot message. Okay, so there is no message declared here. This dot props dot message. So what is that? Your this message I'm reading in the child like this. Okay, if you are reading in that way, now check. See, from parents it is empty. Now when I'm typing here, see, the I'm typing data in the parents, I'm displaying data in the child. Okay, so it is working. It is just straightforward. From parent to child you want to send it, just props you can send it. Okay, now my next thing is, I want something I'm typing here that I want to display in the parent level. Okay, parent level. So how you display? So let's see. What I do in the child, let's take something, this dot state is equal to state, let's take text, some different variable, text empty. So let me apply two-way data binding and then send to the parent. So two-way data binding, I've taken text, and also I need to have a function. So update input. Okay, so this will take the event. Okay, so this dot set state, set my local state with text with events dot target dot value. Okay, if you want to visualize the state, you can make something here, pre-tag. So JSON dot stringify of text. Oh no, this dot state. Okay, so now check in the child we have some states. Oh, it is displaying there. Actually, I write outside the card, so that's why it display there. I can display that inside the card somewhere after card body here. Yeah, this is inside the child only. Now, whatever I'm typing, I want to update this. If I can update this, I can send to the parent. So how to update that is here to data binding. So just say value this dot state dot text and what on change is equal to this dot update input. Okay, if you have called this, it will update the local state, and that's what I'm displaying here. Now check in the child. Let's say hello, I am from child. Okay, so now we have binded the data in the child, and we also display that in the child. But not what my plan is. I don't want to display that in the child. I want to display that in the parent. Okay, so how to send this data to the parent is parent you need to create a function, and that function you have to provide as a props to the child and then call it from the child. So how? First let me delete this. Okay, so parents to receive data. This is parent specific data. To receive data from child, I need one more, something called text empty. And okay, let's take like this, from child you take, okay, some message. Okay, to receive that we need to have a function. So receive data is equal to one function, and here you have to get the data that I will attach. So this dot set stage here. So from child with data. So this is the function which we can accept data from the child. And how this function is make available to the child is through props again. So go to child here. Send data is equal to this dot receive data. Okay, so now this receive data function available to the child using the property called send data. Okay, so now I can send data through this function to here. So how this send data available for us using props. So where I write that logic is somewhere here, because when I'm typing as it is, I want to send it. So that is the function here. So what I do, this dot props dot send data, this dot props dot send data. I'm gonna provide what is my data. So this dot state dot text. I can provide like this. Okay, if you do it, then you can access data over there. Okay, so how I visualize the state of the parent. The parent having two things. So let me visualize that in the parents somewhere where we write that. Okay, somewhere in the heading we'll write pre-tag. Let's say JSON dot stringify of this dot state. Now check parent is having, oh, it's not visible. Huh? Can we make p-tag? Okay, so parent is having message and child. So this is parent data. Okay, it is displaying over there. Fine. And from child property, how you get is when you type from the child. See, I'm typing this from child will update of the parent. How check? Hello, hello. I am from child. Okay, I got that. Okay, I can get that, but some problem is there, na? If I delete. Okay, some issue is there. Yeah, from child, see hello. HELL is not displayed. How come? Okay, that is just on change events. Can we do one thing? Not just on change. Can we do something called on input? One more. So this dot. Um. Okay. This dot send, not send. Update parents. Okay, some different function. Actually, this change event input event, there's a small difference is there. So can we try this? Okay, so here update parents. Now here I write that logic. Okay, so state.text. Now check. I think it's possible now. Let's say hello. Same problem. Huh? Hello, I am from child. Okay, somehow we send data, but problem is the last character is not coming. I need to figure out if I give the space it's coming. Okay, somehow we'll send data from child to the parent. So this is how you will receive data from parent to child, and we also upcast. I mean, we will we lift up the state to the parent. It means if you take this structure, whatever data is there in the parent, that will send to the child, and also we lift up the data back to the parent. But here, if you take some complex application like this, complex um, data structure like this, so I have some data in the app, but I want to display that data in the C. So what you have to do, you need to you need to pass on data to the A, and from there you need to pass on data to the B, and from there you need to pass on data to the C. Okay, because C is not direct connection with the app component. So you need to pass on to the A, and then pass on to the B, and then pass on to the C. So this type of props you're sending to the next, the deeper level. That concept is called props drilling concept. Props drilling. So I need to send it to the A, and then to the B, and then to the C. And you need to lift up back if you want to display something at the app level. But this is the biggest problem in React.js, because if you have some data and you'll be having too many listed levels, like a 1 2 3, only 3 are there. In future you'll have 10 levels. Okay, but I want to display data at the 10th level. If you want to display data in the 10th level, you need to pass on this to the first level, second level, third level, like props. You have to send last level. Okay, instead of doing that concept, we have one solution given by React.js, that is called context API. Okay, to resolve this props drilling concept, we have a concept called context API. So what's the benefit of context API is, you have some data in the parents, without drilling to the each level, we can directly send we can directly send that particular data to the child, any level. Okay, we don't need to send to the each level. For example, see here, we send data from parent to the child, and any child is there, you need to send that level also. Any other child, you need to send that level also. Okay, instead we have the context API concept. We can directly send that data to the child directly, without having to send to the intermediate level, because I don't want to display that data. My plan is I don't want to display the data A and B. Okay, I want to display the data only in C. So why can't you send data directly to the C? Why are you pushing to the B, A and B? Okay, that's a prop stealing concept. It's a problem of prop stealing to send to every level. But using context API, we can directly send it. So let's see the problem, and then let's see the solution. Okay, so problem is sending to the each level. Solution is using context API. director. So let's see this example in the next application. Okay, so let me take a backup of this source code and then I can create a new application. So I'll do one thing, src public and everything I copy. Let me take a backup. Where is our source code? Here. Yeah, let's create new folder 09 hyphen react component interaction. Okay, so let's paste it. Done. Okay, so now what's my plan is context API concept. So before context API, we'll see this prompt drilling problem and then we'll resolve with context API. Okay, so let's make the prompt drilling problem. Prompt drilling problem means app should be there, A, B, C. So 3 should be there. So let's design that and then we'll see.
Sir,
Uh,
what is the difference between contact API and Redux? Also, we can use
yeah, Redux also we can use.
the same concept.
No, Redux is different. Context API means we'll keep the state at the root level. Redux means you'll keep the state outside of application, somewhere here.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
That
So
is
which
Redux.
one is better? Means context API.
Redux is better.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll talk about Redux later, okay?
Yes.
So yeah, let's make this application. So first let me remove all the other things. So components folder delete app.js. This is delete. This should delete. Okay. Yeah, fine. And I think application is compiled. Refresh. Yeah, empty. Fine. Now let's make component A, component B, component C integrate with app. Okay, so the design looks like this. The design will be, here you have a app and then you have A and then you have B and then you have C. This is your app components. This is your A components. This is your B components and then you have C components. Okay, I create data in the app and I want to pass on to the child. So let's see how it's passed. And then without passing to these intermediate guys, how directly you can pass to C, we'll see. First, we'll see the prompt drilling problem. Okay, so back here, src, I create new directory, components. Okay, so let's create component A, component A. Okay, let's say import React from React. So class component A extends React dot components con tab and ren tab h1 A, and let's say export default component A. Okay, so let's make a nice design for this because I want to use the same design for all. So here React dot fragments, I need to make a nice card body, no header, just card body. Let's give some M4. Okay, card body with some bg success text white p.h5. Let's say component A. Okay, so I have this and let me configure this A in the app, but app also I need a card. So can we do one thing? Can we copy this? Can we add here? And this is app components. Let's check. I get the first app component. In that app component, I want component A. So below this, I will add component A. Now what happened? Inside the app, you got the component A, but color I want to change. Let's say BG primary. Okay, you get the BG primary. In the component, I want B and C. Okay, let me copy the component A. So let me create them and then we'll configure. Copy this, paste it. This will be component C. I need to create B first. Component C, some BG warning. This is C. This is C. Okay, and then here let's paste component B. This is B. This is BG danger. This is B, and also this is B. Okay, now check. I need to configure them. So in the app, see here, in the app component A. Okay, in the app component A. So in the component A, we have to configure B. So go to component A. In the component A, I want to configure component B. Okay, component B. In the component B, I want to configure component C. Okay, now check. In that I have component C. Okay, so component A, B, C has configured like this nested. Okay, now in the component A, I'll take some data. I mean, in the app component, I'll take some data root level that I send pass through all the levels. Okay, now see. But if you want to maintain some data in the app, you need to have a stage. But this app is a functional component. So functional component, how to keep state is using hooks, but we are not start the hooks concept. So let's convert this like a class-based component. This whole example like class-based components. How to make this class-based components? Can we do one thing? I cut this because it was functional. I don't want functional. I want class, so that I can create a stage. Okay, I say what class app extends class app extends react dot components in that con tab ren tab. So in that I have data. Okay, simple. I have converted functional component to class based component. So don't worry, no change. Okay, refresh, no change. Okay, if it is a class base, I can maintain some state. Okay, so this dot, because why I convert to class, because we are not discuss functional component with state. Okay, that is a hooks concept. We'll see that later. So this dot state is equal to some data. What is my data is something called user information. Okay, some user information. What is that is I have author, my name, and what channel, something called UI Brains Technologies. Okay, so in the app I have some data. So let me display this data in the parent app. So how you display? Somewhere here, let's use pre tag. Let's say JSON dot stringify this dot state dot user info. Okay, so I can display data here in the app, but it is not visible. Can we make some span or something? Okay, now I have the data in the app component. Now the same data I want to display in the component A also. So how to send this data from app to component A? So how to provide this data to A is through props. So how to provide is component A here data. Okay, or else just say user info some name is equal to how to provide this dot state dot user info. So my state user info has provided to the property of component with the name user info. Okay, so now component A, how it access user info is in the component A. I will write somewhere here span tag slash span. So you will write this dot props dot user info. Okay, so props dot user info. So it is provided through props user info. So now what happened? Objects not valid. Oh, I have to display this in a string format. Okay, So JSON dot stringify of this one, because it's an object, so you have to convert to string. Now check. Now check. Yeah, that data has been provided to the component display. Now I want to display the data in the B2. So how to provide that data to B? Now it is reached to A. From A I want to send to B. Okay, how to send to B? Here again, user info. You can change the name also, but I'm just giving the same name, is equal to, and how this data available? Is it available in the state? No, it is available in the proper. So I can provide like this dot props dot user info to the B. Now B also can access user info. Okay, so here how you display, let's write a span slash. So here I say this dot props dot user info like this. Okay, because B has received the data through user info. So I have read it through props. Now it is available. Again problem, convert to JSON. JSON not stringify of this one. Okay, string object cannot display on the screen. Yeah, so now it is available to the B. And same thing I want to pass on to the child C also. How? Again here, you have to provide another property info is equal to this dot props dot user info. See, we are drilling the properties. We are sent from A to the B to the C. Okay, and how can I access that? Using props in the C. So go to C, here span, make sure you display string format, JSON dot stringify of this dot props dot user info. Okay, so now available to the child. So if any component has been nested like this, so I want this data, actually my plan is to display in the C, but how this C has not directly configured to the app. Okay, if you see the structure, first app, in that component A is there, C is not there. In the app, component A is configured. In the A, B is configured. In the B, C is configured. Okay, so in the C we have data. So it is like this structure. But I want to display that data in the C. So what you have done, this data you first you pass to the A, and then to the B, and then to the C. Now you receive data. So you can visualize the story here. This I pass to A, and then to B, and then to the C. Suppose you have 10 nested levels. I want to display that data here. My intention only to display in C. Okay, I don't want to use this data in A and B, but your child, the least child is required the data. For that reason, you are providing the data to every level, even though it is required or not in the A and B, but still you are providing the data in A and B. It is just required at C, not in B and A. Okay, so this is the props drilling problem. Okay, what is the solution for this props drilling problem is, I don't want to pass on data here. I can directly pass data to C. It means you never see data in A and B. This data you can see in the C. Okay, so how this possible is using the concept called context API. Okay, let's provide a solution using context API. Okay, so same example, let's convert to a context API. So how to convert to context API is, but I want to keep this components as it is. Can we do one thing? In the components, I create a folder, new directory, something called props drilling. Okay, concept name. So let me push these guys to the props drilling. Okay, so I want to keep them as it is. Yeah. So in the props drilling, you have A, B, C. Fine. Now we need separate concept called context API. So what we do, I create another folder called context API. Okay, so let's see the same type of structure but with context API. Okay, so here also we need some cards and all. Can we do one thing? Can we copy these guys? paste here also. Okay, but names you will confuse, no? So let's take okay, refactor, rename this to be comp A. Okay, and this will be rename comp B, and this will be rename comp C. Okay, fine. You have this one. So let's forget about this, guys. Yeah, in the app.js, I have this, and I have data too. So I need to configure only comp A. Okay, and in the comp A, I want to display comp B already there, and in the comp B, I have comp C in that data. Now check. Yeah, same story. Yeah, so same setup has done. Now I want to display this data directly to the C. Okay, how? So I don't need to where a comp A, no property I'm drilling to here. I'm not sending anything to A. In this also, I don't need to send anything to the B. This is also not required. Okay, and in the B, I don't need this, and I don't need to send anything to C. Okay, and C is the fresh one. Okay, it doesn't have anything as of now. Okay, now see, this is app. We have some data, and component A, I'm not sending anything. Component B, I'm not sending anything. Component C, I'm not sending anything. It is just empty. So now check, all are empty. Fine. So now using context API, how can you send this data to the last child is you need to create something called context. I tell you, in the context API, I create a new JavaScript file that is something called user context. Okay, user context. Okay, just see the flow and then I explain again context. So here, import React from React. You can create a context like this. So let's user, you can write a constant. User context is equal to React dot create context. Okay, with some default value empty. So outside of all these guys, one file called user context. Okay, and let me export this, export user context. Okay, so I have taken a separate file called user context like this. Okay, now what's my plan to provide this data to the child? So how to provide this data to the any of the child using context API is, in context API you have two things. One is provider and another one is consumer. Okay, so provider is the provider of the data and consumer is the receiver of the data. Okay, so let me provide data, and then in the C, so in the app component I'll provide, in the component C I'll receive. Okay, so how to provide through context is, see here, in the app, let me import user context. Let me import like this, and how you provide the data is here, not property, it is a different way. So how you provide is user context, this one, this name, user context dot provider. Okay, and with some value, with the value is this dot state dot user info. Okay, in that I'm providing the component A. Okay, so what is this provider does is it will send some data. It just configured as a provider some data to the component A. Okay, because my C is in the A, right? Okay, I'm not providing a property, I'm providing through provider. Okay, so in the A, B is there. There is nothing I written here because I don't want in the B. In the C, I receive the data. Okay, so how I receive the data is using the consumer. So let me import user context here, and then how to receive data. Oh, sorry, it is B. No, I don't want in the B. Sorry, I don't want in the B. I want in the C. So go to C. Yeah, here I want to receive. So how to receive? So in which level you want to receive, you can receive. So import user context. So here I want to receive. So what I do is I write user context dot consumer user context dot consumer. So this will give you the data in the form of one function like this. Here you have a some value. Okay, that value indicates this value. Okay, you can take value or anything. Just say user info also you can take. Okay, I can display. So how I display? Let's say you can simply write like this also, expression directly. So span inside. So JSON dot stringify of user info. And please observe, in the app I have provided, but in the component A there is nothing I received. I don't want it. In the component B there is nothing I received, but in the component C I'm receiving using user context consumer something here. So now check. See, you got data here. Okay. So for example, if you change something called UI brains, that's it. So now you check the data, only UI brains available in the child. So in this concept, what happened is I don't pass through the all intermediate components. I can only provide to the required component. Okay, sir, what if I want to access that in the B also? Then what you do? You can consume in the B also. Okay, if you required in the B, then you can consume in the B also. So how you consume? You need to write import user context, and how to consume is here, user context dot consumer. Okay, so here you will have a function. So span. So let's say JSON dot stringify. I need to have something user info, some name you can give ABCD also, user info. So if you consume in the B, you can access the data in the B2. Okay, but my plan is I don't want in the B, so that's why I have not added in the B here. So this context API has solved the props drilling problem, because unnecessarily will send to every level, not required. You can just provide in the top level, you can receive any level using the consumer, using the context API, provider and consumer. Okay, so that is the user context. I mean, not user context API concept. Okay, so this solves the props drilling problem. Okay, and one more thing. I'll ask a question. Just tell me an answer. For example, let me, I think, okay. For example, I have data. If you can answer this question, you understand the concept. Okay, I have some data in the C. Okay, I have data something in the C, but I want to display that data in the E. I have calculated some data in the C. I want to display that information in the E. Tell me how to provide. How you do it? C and E is not in connection, right? So C is connection with B and A and app and D and E. So you have to lift up. You have to lift up like this. You have to lift this state to the B, and then you need to lift to A, and then lift to app. From there downgrade to B, and then downgrade to E. This is how you need to do it. Okay, because these two not in connection. So you need to lift up to the top level and then provide here. So this is like, when your application goes complex in state management, that's a place where Redux has come. Okay, so Redux is the perfect solution for all this. Okay, so what Redux does is, don't worry, I'm not discussing Redux now, but what Redux solution is, you can create a state outside somewhere and everybody having connection to that. Okay, everybody having direct connection to the Redux state. So whoever updated, let's say it will be here, centralized location. This centralized location directly you can access. No need to lift up, no need to send to the next level, nested levels. Okay, so this is Redux concept. Okay, don't worry, we'll see the Redux concept later. Then I'll make you explain again everything. Okay, so this is the story. So here what we learn is how to interact or how to send data from parent to the child. So parent to child is using props, but child to parent you want to send, there should be a function in the parent to receive the data, and that function you need to configure as a props to the child, so that child can call that function to send data to the parent. That's how you will lift up to the next levels. Okay, and then what is the props dealing problem is, if you have some data at the top level, you want to display that data in the deeper level child, you need to pass on that to the every level of the component. So this is a props dealing concept, even though it is required or not, but you must have to provide because it is to be reached to the last level. Okay, but instead of this, there is a solution given by React.js called Context API. So it means without sending to the intermediate levels, you can directly send that data to the least level. So that is Context API. In that we have two things. One is provider and consumer. You will write a provider with some data and we can consume wherever you want it, in which level you want, you can consume it. Okay, even the best solution than Context API is Redux. Okay, so we'll see Redux, and even the last application is there, no, that is based on Redux only. Okay,
Hello, hello, Naveen sir.
yeah, yeah, tell me.
To root component.
Huh.
So can we make it provider? This one, C, component C.
Component C.
Yeah, I want to pass data from the component C to root app component.
You want to provide C to A.
Yeah. So
Okay, I understood. Reverse lift up.
yes, exactly.
Okay, I tell you. Actually, in React.js, the context API is only provide data from parent to child. Okay, if you want to lift up the state from child to the next level, you must have to use props concept only.
Means C to B, B to A, like that.
Yes, that way only.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
so yeah, because they given the solution is provider to consumer. So this guy is a provider, consumer will be the child only always. Okay, so this guy will provide, because app component is not configured here, right, to provide. So it must have to lift up using props only. That's only way you have to send to the props. Okay, so better solution than this is Redux. Okay, so I hope now we understood. I just gave you this the screenshot also. Let me save it on desktop. What is this component structure? Anything else? This is not required. This is anyway you have seen in the diagram, right? Okay, I just only this component structure. Yeah, cut this. I keep in notes. I paste. Okay, so we can visualize this. Okay, fine. So just practice on this and you can create some your own data and send to the child. And tomorrow we will start with HTTP. Okay, HTTP means how to get data from server. So till now we made the data in the local static data. So now we'll see uh, how to fetch data from the external server and how to configure that in the local. There we have to use some external library called Axios. Okay, so I'll talk about the HTTP, and also we'll have component interaction will come, because component interaction will be there for every example from now. Okay, so what my concept here is, every concept we have to understand, and that concept could be implemented in every example in the next level. Okay, so till now we have learned the state, and that state is there for every example. Just like that, today we have learned the context API, and mostly context API we'll never use, but the states and the component interaction we use everywhere. Okay, so whatever the concept we learn, that concept will repeat for every next example. Okay, and once we learn with HTTP, then we'll start with routing. In the routing, HTTP also will come, component interaction will come, state also will come. Okay, so that's the plan. And lastly, we'll develop an application called Big Basket. There's a full stack application there. Every concept will come. Okay, so that's the plan. Okay, so that you clear understand which concept is using which place. Okay, so tomorrow we'll start with HTTP, and some questions are there. What's the main difference between context API and Redux? Wait, this question can be answered when we start Redux concept. Okay, and what's the use of Flux then? Flux is a different concept. We'll talk about when Flux concept is introduced, and was a real time where we use context API. That depends. If we have very few, he's asking where we can use context API. If we have very few components, like 5-6 components, you can manage with context API. Okay. If you have more components like 10, 15, 20, like that, you must have to use Redux. Okay. So, but always Redux is better than context API. Okay. Imagine, Facebook is made in React JS, and that is made in 30,000 components are there in React. I mean, in Facebook application, 30,000 components are there. So they'll be using Redux with the Flux. Okay. That is even next level. Okay. So we'll see them once we go to the next level of React. Okay, React is an API. Yes, React is an API. We have a concept like actions, action creators, dispatch, state, store. Many concepts are there. We'll see them. Just only concentrate up to here. So as we go on to the next level, then you can understand in a better way. Okay, fine, and that's it. Thank you so much.
Sir, yesterday we have done one project, array of objects. We have rendered by map. You told that we'll do search and filter also.
Oh, okay. Okay, we will do that. Something like, yeah, that we'll see, because filtering will be there for every example of next level. So better I'll discuss that in next level.
Okay.
Okay, we will definitely discuss that. Okay, and any questions? No? Okay, so please practice up to here, and then we'll start with HTTP tomorrow, and don't miss tomorrow's concept. Please make sure you attend live, because that's an interesting concept to fetch data from server. Okay, and there we are discussing an example called, I show you the example also so that you'll be more interested to join. Example will be, I think I have it. For Angular we discuss React. I show you. It will be React JS fundamentals, HTTP. Anyway, HTTP you see. Yeah, this one. Yeah, this one. This example we'll discuss tomorrow. I start with basic example and then this application. So this is the GitHub user application. There, come on, open. Yeah, this is a GitHub user search. You need to search for an employee, I mean the user, and that will pick up the data from the real GitHub API. Okay, so that will display your data, your information, your GitHub repositories and all. In this, how to fetch data using Axios we'll see, and how to pass on data to the child nested component. This is one component to this one component, this one component. So how to pass on data through all this. Okay, how to display them. Okay, so how to parse the JSON data, because we get data from server is JSON. Okay, so this is the application we'll discuss tomorrow, so don't miss this. Okay, so that's it. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll meet tomorrow. Thank you. And I have shared the notes yesterday, so today also I shared the notes through the email. Okay, so thank you.